So tomorrow is, do you know what tomorrow is? Yeah, Dr. Martin Luther King Day. And I want to honor that today as we honor his legacy. You know, of course, it's not when we honor the legacy of someone, we're not just looking back, right? But we're looking at how that legacy propels us forward. And that's really what I want us to focus on today, because Dr. King didn't say, I had a dream, like past tense. He said, I have a dream, right? Present tense, a living dream, a breathing reality that still is living and breathing through many of us, through all of us potentially. So the call is to embody his dream and our dream, our own versions of that dream, whether it be our collective dreams or our personal dreams or both. And we're going to talk a little bit about both of those today too. And then also the key to a dream. The key is to commit, right? The commitment aspect of that dream is what's really key, because being committed to the dream allows all the aspects of it to come into lived experience, to come into to what it is that we hold. In the case of Dr. Martin Luther King, it was beloved community and justice and many other aspects of that. So our dream, his dream, and our shared dream for the world kind of all melding together in various ways. When we think about dreams, sometimes we discount them as fantasies or wishful thinking or magical thinking, or we might kind of poo-poo them for ourselves or for others in that way. But remember, what we are holding and what we've been talking about as we set the tone for our year, the first Sunday, is to dwell in possibility. And dreams are about possibility. One of my favorite quotes about dreams is actually an anonymous person said that dreams come a size too big so we can step into them. So that's the whole idea of a dream, right? The whole idea of a dream is that it feels like an edge. It feels like something that is expanding us, feels like something that we can't really quite imagine just yet. But we know that there's a sense of possibility in us around it. And so that's the fun of dreams, right? That it's that kind of, it's just waiting. The dream can come to us in various ways. It can be planted in us as a divine idea. It can be kind of like a spiritual blueprint of sorts. And then it just waits for our willing yes. And our willing yes then propels us on that pathway that brings commitment into it, that allows the dream to come to fruition. So the question before us today to begin with is, what's the dream you're holding? What's the dream that you're willing to commit to? So I want to give you a moment just to drop into your own heart and see what's present for you. What's the dream that's present for you? Because many of us hold many dreams, but just see what bubbles up. What is the thing that bubbles up? Maybe you already know, but I want to give everybody a chance to catch up with you if you do. So let's just take a couple moments, just dropping into the heart, and just see what dream is present. What dream am I willing to commit to at this point on my journey? And maybe just see if you can speak it into your heart, just in a few simple words. And then we just bless it and release it. Give it spiritual wings to take flight. And when you're ready, come back into this space. So you might be holding two dreams that feel like two separate dreams. Maybe one for the collective and one for yourself, your personal life. And we'll see how those can also be connected with one another. Most of us know the words of Dr. King's speech, at least the beginning of them. Maybe you know all of them. Maybe you know a lot of the basic points that he makes. But it begins, I have a dream, right? And then out comes this publicly declared big dream. If you think about, he spoke those words in 1963, 63 years ago. And sometimes I think we lose context over time. But if you think about the context in which he spoke those words, his dream was wildly unrealistic in the times. Segregation was legal. Violence was really common during that time. And equality was not protected. And so for him to speak this dream about equality and justice and being hand in hand across races, moving together and being together in school and all of those things that he dreamed for children, for generations to come, for all of, we can see now that some of aspects of his dream have been realized, and some aspects of his dream are still breathing through us, are still still kind of a line of hope and faith and commitment and action for them to be more fully embodied through us. So he didn't speak his dream with a sense of these circumstances are happening. He wasn't supported by the circumstances of the day. He was supported by spiritual truth. And that's what dreams do. They're not necessarily supported by a reality we can touch and feel right now or that we're physically experiencing right now. That's the whole idea of the dream. It's taking us beyond. So it's taking us where it's landed, where it's grounded is in spiritual truth, not necessarily in something that we are really right now touching and feeling and experiencing. So it's a really important aspect, I think, to keep in mind. And then to keep seeing, but we have achieved some aspects of his dream and probably of our own and probably of the collective vision that we all hold. When you think about the vision we hold here at Unity, of a spiritually awakened world where all life thrives in conscious oneness. You might say, well, we're not there yet, but you can see some experiences of that, some evidence of that, have some knowing of that some of that vision is already realized, and there's some yet to come. My friend Robin's 8-year-old niece came home from school one day after they learned about Martin Luther King Day at school, and she said to her mom, "Isn't it great that man's dream came true?" And she said, "What man, honey?" She said, "The king." She says, "Oh, yeah, Martin Luther King, yeah. What do you mean by his dream came true?" And she said, "Well, he said little black boys and little white girls would be going to school together, and we are." And then she just skipped off, and the mom was kind of in a state of wonder about it all, right? In that state of wonder that says, oh, yeah, we have made a lot of progress. And in that state of wonder that says, and there's work to do. Isn't that where we are as spiritually evolving beings? And so the dreaming and the committing to the dream is really key to keep propelling us forward in the unfolding of our divine magnificence and what that can look like on a collective basis as well as in our own individual lives. So King didn't just have a dream. Of course, he committed to that dream, and that commitment cost him. It cost him comfort, it cost him time with his family, it cost him safety, and eventually it cost him his life. Now, that doesn't mean your dream is going to cost you those things, but it does point to something important, and that is that your dream isn't necessarily about convenience, but it is about consequence. It is about, as you move into it, there is positive consequence that occurs, positive legacy that is created even in experience that you yourself can have with it. So a true dream, a God-given dream, will have that essence. Commitment isn't about necessarily preference. Preference is kind of like, I'll do that, if it works out. I'd like to do that, that sounds good if it works out, So it's kind of got that sort of just light touch, let's say. But commitment says, I choose this. I choose this even when it's hard. I keep choosing it again and again and again. Unless we're guided elsewhere, but, So many of us have dreams we like, but a lot of us don't have dreams we're really committed to. And so it's kind of moving through that to see what is the one that's popping that says, yeah, I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to take action on this. I'm going to allow this to be fleshed out, so to speak. And a lot of us need to remember that the commitment that is carried in that dream might include disappointments, might include along the way, we may have resistance or doubt, but that doesn't mean it needs to stop us from moving forward. So I encourage us to pick a dream that has some juice and then commit to that. Part of commitment that really, I think, bolsters it in a powerful way is faith. And so for us as people on a path of faith, on a spiritual path, we have sort of that advantage of bringing that in to bolster our experience of staying with it. You could look at Dr. King's and say, yeah, he had a vision that was for humanity, that was for culture, that was political, but he's also Reverend King, right? He also had a spiritual conviction. He also had this power underneath it. When we look at Gandhi, similarly, Gandhi's vision had a spiritual propelling energy behind it, a recognition that I am supported by something greater. And so you too already have that in your dreams. You already have that in your commitment tool pack, if you will, that you have faith with you. You have faith to lean into. You have faith to say, I have a sense of knowing. I have a sense of support. I know that I'm not in this alone, that I'm co-creating with Spirit, and that maybe it's not even completely an idea from my own conscious mind, but it comes from the beyond. It's sort of a propelling forward, a kind of calling. It's got a different kind of flavor and energy to it that's got so much support and so much oomph behind it, that if you just say a willing yes to that inkling inside of you that says, this is yours to do, and stop pushing it off or letting it get weighted down by doubt and fear, but you say, yeah, here's this gem that Spirit has given me. And not only do I have the willingness to commit to it and to take the steps I'm guided to take, but I have faith behind me. I have a knowing that this is a co-creation experience, and that in that co-creation experience, I will be provided for. Very much like the covenant we talked about last week and how the Fillmores laid that out. I'm going to do this, and I claim that I'm going to receive this support, and I'm going to do it anyway. But I have this sense, right? It's like the backing that we can lean into, if you will, or the thing that will help keep putting the wind beneath our wings. So the spiritual practice is really important because it keeps fortifying that faith. It keeps helping us recognize and remember, I'm not in this alone, I'm co-creating. And usually we're not in it alone even with each other. We're generally collaborating or co-creating with others as well, or supported by others in other ways. So it's not only with Spirit, but also with, as we like to say sometimes, God with skin on, the folks around you that are also supporting you, or actually teaming up with you to make it so, whatever it is. So one way we could look at this sort of back and forth support with Spirit and maybe with each other is that Spirit supplies the vision and then we supply the consent. Spirit provides the action steps or points us to the action steps and we take them. Spirit provides the resources and we apply them. And so it's not on us to figure it all out. That's kind of the old way of thinking. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to figure it out. Those lines have exhausted me over the years. Have they exhausted you? I am so done with those. They're so 2025. No, I don't know. Last century. I don't know what they are. But whatever they are, it's like we can give that stuff up. We don't have to push. We don't have to use all of our own energy to make things happen. No, we're in this dance with Spirit and we receive and we receive and we receive and we are energized and we have a sense of it's fun that way. Life is fun that way when we are co-creating, right? I don't think the other way is fun. I have been down that road too long. Have you? Yeah, you're with me on this. So it's not, I think about Abraham, Esther Hicks, who I love this. She has this, and I've told you this, probably some of you this before, but she has this way that when she feels like she has a lot to do, she just creates a to-do list that has the things that she thinks should be done by her and the things that Spirit should do. She just does a line down the middle, and she does her to-do list and Spirit's to-do list. And if you start practicing in this way, I think you'll find that the bigger stuff goes on Spirit's list until there's specific steps for you to take. And it is really a co-creative to-do list. And it also has beingness in it, right? Because when we bring Spirit in, it brings beingness in it. It brings a sense of quality in it. And that's part of what's fun. Things like joy, things that Astra's been singing about all morning, right? Joy and peace and love. Those are experiences we have when we are in this kind of beautiful, fun, exciting co-creation. It's not like, I got to commit to it now. It doesn't have that energy in it. It's like, I get to, and Spirit's got me, and I'm not alone. I'm in this collaborative process. So each of us carries some kind of personal dream at all times, sometimes many, all at once. And, you may not be it may not be a loud dream that you're, giving to everybody from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, for example. But it probably has a quieter sense about it, and it may be something like healing or reconciliation, or maybe you're looking for meaningful work or a new home, or you'd like something to happen in your current relationship, or whatever it is that you are dreaming about. Let it be dreamed. For one thing, don't just, put the old wet blanket over it as soon as the dream arises, Let it be dreamed. Let it arise in your heart. Let it be felt in you and seen by you. Maybe your dream is really about spiritual evolution, that you really want to align more with the truth of who you are now. You want to bring your authentic self into being and let go of the ways that you've been, sort of holding that back. Only you know what it is. But that dream might whisper until it shouts. You know what I'm saying? It may be that quiet kind of build before it's out loud expressed. A dream is often present with us, even though you may not be consciously aware of it all the time. It could be on any kind of range of it pops up at various times. You have one of those. Every so often you're surprised, that dream pops up again, or somebody gives you a message or something happens and you're reminded again of that, Or maybe it's something you can't stop thinking about. And if it's something you can't stop thinking about, do it. Because that's Spirit knocking on the door of your heart more urgently now, Do it, whatever it is. So Dr. King says this about dreams. The size of a dream is not measured by its safety. So if you're in that space of I'm abandoning my dream because it's too risky or too impractical or too late or whatever all the twos are that we put on that, come into this recognition. The size of a dream is not measured by its safety. It's measured by its truth. And the truth is back to that connection with Spirit, knowing this is a dream of my heart. And when it's a dream of your heart, it's the same thing as God's will. Your heart's will is God's will. There's no separation there. And so that is what is coming up inside of you to come into fruition. I had a dream once that I wanted to switch careers from public relations to education. And part of that was spurred on by the fact that I had been reading in the newspapers in Chicago about this exciting thing called school reform. And I did not find my job exciting in that way. I didn't feel like I was making a kind of impact I wanted to be making in the world. But I would read, about this, and I even got out, remember the yellow pages, some of you? Got out the yellow pages, and I started looking at educational organizations in my lunch hour and taking notes. And I went and visited with this guy, and he kind of laid out possible pathways for me. And then I learned about this organization. And so through all this kind of exploration and research and sitting with my dream and my desire to make this shift, I pinpointed something very specific I wanted a job at the Teachers Academy for Mathematics and Science. They were one of the organizations that was kind of on the leading edge of this reform. And I surprised myself in a lot of ways because I'd always been sort of this wide generalist, interested in kind of everything. And so I was so specific, you know? And then I surprised myself by like what rose up in me. It was not just commitment, it was dogged determination. Have you ever had this, like where you surprise yourself in this way? Like something comes through you and you go, wow, I'm not usually like that. This is kind of interesting. And then you see how committed you are. Anybody ever have that kind of experience? Yeah. Okay, so a lot of you have. So the way that manifested for me was I went and created a time to meet somebody at that organization. And then I called him every month to say, do you have a job for me yet? I really want to work there. And every month he'd say no, and every month I'd feel disappointed. And in the meantime, I left my big firm PR job, and I was kind of floundering about. I had a freelance job. It wasn't really paying the bills. So then I took another PR job, and I really disliked it. And it turns out it was mutual because I got fired. So then I'm like walking along on my path to my dream with disappointment and embarrassment and kind of floundering and fear and anxiety, but I'm making my monthly call. Hey, Dr. Larry, got a job for me yet? Nope, not this month, you know. It's about 7 months of this process. The 7th month, I get a call from them, and I got the job. And I loved that job. You know, that's when you know Spirit's at work. Because it's like, it just was such a fabulous experience for me. It was beloved community. I mean, we had the most diverse group and teams, and it was collaborative, and it was exciting, and it was interesting, and I was constantly learning, and I had just gotten into Unity, and I was like, wow, finding all the connections. You ever do that? It's like, wow, my work's sort of lining up with what I'm learning at Unity. This is so exciting. So, you know, it's that kind of experience that we can have when we commit to a dream. And what I really learned in that process of committing was, and that along that path was, just because you have this great dream and you have energy around it, you have a commitment to it, it does not eliminate the fact that you're going to have setbacks possibly, you're going to have disappointments possibly, you're going to feel maybe resistant or afraid at times, but that doesn't stop you from committing to the dream, from staying the course of what it is that you wish to have, whatever that may be, what it is that you're called to have, really. So the last time I saw one of my favorite, or one of my closest coworkers, I should say, Albert from the Teachers Academy, we were in Kansas City together, and I just remember this day. It was actually a lot like today, where the sky is clear and blue and sunny, and the air is crisp, and we were standing outside together. I think he was getting on the train or something. Anyway, I just remember he took my hands, and I looked down, and the contrast of the skin color of our hands was so beautiful. And he looked in my eyes, and he said, he like gave me this blessing. He was wishing me always to have prosperity and continued health. And then he said, and always keep your eyes on the prize. And I realize now that, you know, it's like that manifestation of walking together in beloved community. It's more powerful. It's more powerful when we are with each other in our diverse experiences and we are co-creating together. And that blessing is still carried in my heart. And I realize, wow, that's even a manifestation of some of what King talked about specifically, where he imagined a world where little black boys and girls would hold hands as brothers and sisters. And he was imagining the next generations, but he was also imagining men and women, right, of various colors, holding hands together as sisters and brothers. And remember, back then, that was wildly unrealistic in America, in segregated America. Today, we take it for granted to some degree, and we still have work to do. And so it's like celebrate how far we have come. and know that that celebration can propel us forward to know more is possible. That's that energy of faith that comes behind us that says, see, things come to fruition that seem wildly unrealistic. And so in my life, in my dream, in my collective holding for the world, this too can come to be realized and experienced. And we might stand like that mother of that little girl in a kind of a state of wonder, like, oh yeah, some of that has come true. So sometimes we get really negative, right? We get really bent on like, oh, it's not happened. It's still not happened. It's terrible, you know? And while those feelings are true and real and based in sadness and anger, I don't mean to diminish them in any way because it's powerful to know that, to feel our grief over what has not been realized, to feel our grief over what is happening in the world today, in our country today. There's grief. It's in the, you can feel it. You can feel it in yourself. You can feel it in the ethers. You can feel it in the experience with others, right? We're walking in a world of grief right now. A world of heartbreak. It's true. Let's name it. Let's see it. Let's, speak to it out loud. But that does not stop the dream. In fact, it propels it forward because there's something more for us to co-create. There's something more for us to realize. There's something more for us to be able to say, I was a part of making that change. And that our grandchildren or our children or our children's children's children and the generations to come can stand in that place of wonder and go, wow, yeah, a lot has happened, and we still have work to do. Because as long as humanity is living and breathing, we're always going to be in a state of evolution. We're always going to be in a state of healing something, revealing something, bringing forth more love, more wisdom, more possibility. And we imagine what that could be in the future. And it gives me chills when I cast out into that place, because when I cast out into that place and I feel it from this place in our energy field right here together and online, when we come together like this, we create a different kind of energy field, and it's an energy field of possibility. Do you feel that? When you come in here, yeah. You feel that like when we're together in this kind of thing, when we're speaking and singing together and meditating together, there's a sense of, no, it is possible. I went out there and I found out it wasn't possible, or I kind of got the impression it wasn't possible, and I started feeling heavier and heavier as the week went. And then I walked in here and I went, no, wait, this feels like truth. This is truth, right? This is the kind of spiritual truth that King was talking about. This is the kind of spiritual truth where he said, it's not about circumstances. He's not being supported by the circumstances he's seeing in everyday life. He's not casting a dream where he's seeing it happen. He's seeing it happen in his heart, in his mind, through the divine eyes. When we look through the divine eyes, we see equality, we see justice, we see, all the possibilities that we dream of already manifest. And so all it is really for us to do is look through our divine eyes more often. Look through the eyes of your heart more often, so that what happens here is a fortification of truth. And then you go out in the world, and instead of getting bogged down by what the world gives you, you give the world the fortification. You see? And then the more you give it, the more you feel energized by it, and the more it becomes your realized truth. And suddenly we're living in a world of divinity. We're walking in a world of divinity. We're seeing with eyes of divinity, and the world shifts. King didn't wait for the world to change. He changed how he showed up. He changed what he saw. He changed what he felt. He changed what he imagined. He was imprisoned and all his folks beaten. There was all kinds of horrible things that happened. And he never faltered from the vision, sharing the dream with all of us, seeing all of us equal. He didn't talk about hatred. He didn't allow himself to go into places of separation and otherness. So don't allow yourself to go there either. Let him be a way shower. Let Gandhi be a way shower. Let Jesus be a way shower. Let all those who have come before us, who have walked these kinds of paths, remind us. So next time you get bogged down by the news or you think, oh my God, the sky is falling. I'm not saying that there aren't real things happening. This isn't about being Pollyanna. That's not what it is. But it is about feeling those things and letting them shift, letting them transform through the heart that is the Christ in you, that receives this. You know, there's a practice in, I think it's Tibetan Buddhism, but it's Buddhism called Tonglen, where you take in the pain of the world, and most of us in Unity go, what? No, I'm not doing that. You know, but what it is about, it's about holding the center. And so where you are taking in the pain of the world is in that divine center. And so it's you're in the love. You're beamed up by the love and the light and the truth. You're all prayed up. You're in that centered space. And then you invite the pain of the world and it transforms. And then you send out the love. And then you send out the peace. And then you send out the joy. Because it's not about the limitation of our humanity. It's not about the limitation of our conscious mind or our physical experience. Not that those things aren't amazing. They are. But they're more amazing when they're infused with our divinity in a conscious way. And so when we can stand in that place, we can allow some of that pain in the world or reality of what's going on to come in because we're centered in the power that transforms it and sends it out as light. Sends it out as potential, as possibility. So it's all woven together in our experience. Dr. King was grounded in a we-ness, right? So when we create a dream, our dream is about I thrive, right? But it's also about we thrive. Because we recognize that whatever it is that you are dreaming, if it is in your heart, then that dream is meant, and you may not see it right now, it doesn't matter. That dream is meant to also bless others. And it will, if you feel guided to do it, and you commit to it, it will bless others, maybe in ways you don't see right now. Because as you awaken, as you move into more of the truth of who you are, you can't help but be a blessing to everyone around you. It's when we hide our light that we have problems, right? That's when we have problems. When we let the fear take over, the doubt or the resistance take over, that's when problems show up. But when we move away from that and we allow the energy to move through us, then magic happens. Possibility becomes reality. So one of the things that King also talked about was this moral arc of the universe. He used the word moral arc. If you don't like that word, you could use natural arc even. The natural arc of the universe, he said, bends toward justice. The natural arc of the universe bends toward justice. We even have a term we use in Unity, divine justice. So you have this idea that justice is justice. It's meant to be. Justice is meant to be. That's a spiritual quality, justice. Equality is a spiritual quality. This isn't about like being political. It's about being spiritual. Spirituality is grounded in an idea that we are equal, that we are one, that we are meant to be in this together, and that everybody is worthy of dignity and honor and all those things, no matter what their station in life is or how they're showing up or how they're expressing, that we are in this together and we all have a role to play, and that role matters. And so when we diminish each other and otherize each other, we lose that peace and the whole that is needed. It's a fracture in the wholeness of the universe. Every time we do that with each other. And I know we're doing it in big ways, in a collective way right now, and I just see that as a lot of kicking and screaming for the energy that is trying to be rebirthed through the universe. And it is, it's painful kicking and screaming, but there's a lot of kicking and screaming going on, right? And so we're wading through it. We signed up to be here now. You signed up to be here now. I believe that. I believe we are, here by divine appointment, all of us. And our biggest divine appointment is to wake up. Our biggest divine appointment is spiritually awaken and to love. I mean, if you're seeking purpose in life, just grab onto those two, you know? I want to spiritually awaken, and I'm here to love. And make it your commitment. Make it your dream to be a part of that, and what you imagine can come from that. So I imagine we all hold some kind of collective dream, and I'm really into this thing of writing things down now and like working with it in that way, because I think it just makes it more concrete. And then maybe even after it's written down, read it, you know, and then maybe record your own voice. That's supposed to be very powerful, to hear your own, for your subconscious to hear your own voice speaking whatever it is. So maybe it's your affirmation, your Whitestone word, your sacred covenant from last week, your dream this week, your personal dream, your collective dream. Just want to really encourage us to consider that, to write it down, to read it aloud, to let it breathe through us in a way that we really begin to get it in the cells of our being. So I want to share with you, I just, you know, it's always an evolution process, but I'll share with you my current dream that's kind of a beloved community dream inspired by Martin Luther King's beloved community. And what is part of this for me is that I noticed is that release came up, things I want to release. So it's not all affirmative, some of it is release, and that's what my mind and heart needs right now. So you might find that it's helpful to you to like name some of the things you kind of don't want, that you want to move out in order for the new to come in. So let me just give you this example. So I have a dream that all people live and breathe and move with ease and grace, and that there's joy and wholeness for all people. And I dream that we honor one another in all life with dignity and respect and love. I envision a world where human beings will not and cannot separate, demonize, or willfully hurt one another. In my dream, human minds cannot even comprehend words like war or violence or separation or hatred. And we've completely lost all vocabulary for derogatory terms for each other. We don't even say, we could never even imagine saying that another person was an enemy or that a person was illegal. It's like we can't comprehend that. It's like from a lost time. It doesn't exist anymore. In my dream, we see and feel and experience oneness with each other and the divine spirit of life while celebrating our gorgeous diversity. So what is your collective dream? Maybe you haven't thought about it yet, but I want to encourage you to reflect on that this week and maybe, you know, allow yourself to kind of focus and then use it in a practical way. When things are happening in the world that are weighing you down, pull out your collective dream and put yourself in the consciousness and the space of what it is that you are co-creating rather than what you are seeing in circumstance. Stand it in truth rather than circumstance, because that's where the dream will blossom. That's where the vision will come true. So your personal dream and your collective dream have this really beautiful weave together. You know, for example, let's say that you are dreaming about integrity, that your intention is integrity. Well, when you step into that intention for yourself, you strengthen justice in the world. When you say, I want to be more compassionate, you start being more compassionate, you weaken violence. When you step into, I'm awakening, I'm spiritually awakening, you're awakening for the whole, not just for yourself. So there are many ways that we might not have drawn the dots, but the dots are drawn for us. So here's 3 simple things that you can do to help you in your commitment to your dream. The first is to name the dream. So identify the dream, name it, as we've talked about. And speaking it aloud allows it to gain power, writing it down, you know, et cetera, as we've talked about. And then nourish your dream with your spiritual practice. Nourish your faith and your dream with your spiritual practice. Prayer, meditation, whatever it is for you, spiritual study. All of that is fuel for the dream and for the realization of the dream. And then live your dream now. And by that, I don't necessarily mean that the physical circumstances are going to be literally present for you. They may be. But maybe if your dream is in development, what I'm talking about is more live the values of your dream. Lean into the feeling of your dream. Become your dream in that way. For example, let's say that you're dreaming about retirement. And then what is it that you want from retirement? A lot of people want freedom, right? They want freedom, freedom of time, freedom to do some different things. And so the quality you're really after is freedom. And so you can begin to lean into freedom, to enrich your life with ways that you feel freer, and begin to feel that, become your dream in that sense, that you begin to feel freer. And then when the time comes, maybe you'll retire, or maybe something better will come along. You don't know until you lean in, until you become what it is that you're after in your dream. So, beloved community, and our own dreams, whatever they are individually, they live and breathe still through us every day. So it especially lives in us when we choose love over fear, for example. Or when we look with those eyes of divinity that I mentioned earlier, that see with eyes of justice and equality and compassion and so on. So just naming that dream and committing to it is really the key that we're after here. And recognizing that it stands on spiritual truth. And you stand in spiritual truth. And so it makes the whole process a lot easier and more fulfilling. So are you ready to really step into your dream, name it and nourish it and live it? Yeah? All right, let's do it. I invite us to affirm this in a simple way. Together, I am committed to my dream. So it is.